So in today's webinar, El Papadopoulou from Athena Research Center, which is also our deputy project coordinator, will kicking things off by introducing the plan track assess framework, which is a key component in OSTrails that supports interoperability, connectivity, and machine actionability within the research ecosystem. Then we will hear from the two OSTrails pilots initiatives, out of 24 pilots that the OSTrails has, with showing how our solutions are being applied in real-world settings. More specifically, Andrew Hoffman from CWTS at Leiden University and Line Makers from SURF will present the Dutch national pilot focusing on how dynamic workflow integrated DMPs are improving collaboration across institutions. Then Renaud Dime from the European from SRF, which also represents PANOSC, will share a use case on how they are using DMPs, SKGs, and fair assessment to manage database from their institution. Finally, our training manager, Pedro Prisimp from the University of Minho, will introduce us in the OSTrails mentorship program. The scope of this program is to help IT managers, research support staff, and founders, officers in building upskilling their skills around DMPs, SKGs, and fair assessment. And just to mention that this also that we have also the open call for mentees. So this is stay up tuned so to hear more about the presentation. With this, I will then we are going to have like a live Q&A session for 20 minutes. So feel free to send your questions, as I mentioned before, in the chat. By this, I will give the microphone to Ellie for the introduction. So Ellie, I will stop sharing my screen and you can share yours.
Thank you. We weren't seeing your screen, or I wasn't.
Okay. Can you share your screen?
Yeah, please. Here it is. Can you see?
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
Good. Well, thank you, Tassos, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for joining. It's a pleasure to be having this, introduction, to be sharing the outcomes of our project with you. We've been silently working in the last year, and now we're very excited and we want to share everything with everyone so that you join us in these efforts. Now, OSTrails, as you can see, is about planning, tracking, assessing. These are our three pillars. The official name is Open Science Plan, Track, Assess Pathways. So we're looking at how information flows across within and across these three key research stages. Project started last year and it will end. It's a 36-month project, so it will end 31st of January 2027, and it's coordinated by Opener Amke. It brings together 40 partners and more than 80 tools. And here you can have a you can have a look of the diversity of the diversity of the disciplines, the contexts, and the research settings that each brings to the table to form the OSTrails specifications and results. Our ambition is simple, but it's very, let's say, bold. We aim to create integrated flows where we start from planning research to then track it and be able to assess it. And we do that without reinventing the wheel. We base our work on existing frameworks, existing specifications, and existing tools. And what we do is collaborate, try to understand the needs across everyone and find the common denominator that can support our interoperability frameworks and generally improvement of the infrastructure that is needed for our ambition to be fulfilled, let's say. The plan track assess framework is core. This is what we are working with. We are working with data management planning tools, scientific knowledge graphs, and fair assessment tools. Sorry, to help them interoperate, so exchange information in a standard way. And also, if we are looking at what we aim to succeed at the end in each pillar individually, is move beyond having documents, having DMPs as documents, to be more, let's say, machine actionable and living documents. In terms of tracking, we aim to enhance the different links across outputs and activities and actors, and also be able to share them and have more quality metadata that can be retrieved and shared from the SKGs platforms. And for assessment, we aim to deliver fair tests and benchmarks to help different scientific domains assess diverse research objects. And we also aim to provide guidance, not only assessment, but also guidance on how to improve at any research stage. Our like the people that would, let me take it one step back. So this is our target audience. This is the people that are going to be affected, let's say, at the end or at the beginning, depending on which type of audience, which type of stakeholder we are looking at, from the OSTrails results. So we see researchers, individuals, or groups, research groups. These are going to have a more streamlined workflow for planning, tracking, and assessing their research. Repository managers and publishers, for example, will be able to connect with and expose their metadata to scientific knowledge graphs, which can provide the links and the relationships that are very meaningful if we want to assess impact, for example, at the end. Research executives, funders, science policymakers can benefit also from the results of OSTrails because at the moment DMPs, we don't know, like there's not a standard on how DMPs are evaluated, and this is one of the things that we are looking at, and we aim to produce some recommendations to funders for that, for example. Data stewards, data libraries, research managers, they are supporting research. So of course, they need to be aware of the tools and how they can be improved, as well as their infrastructure developers and operators, same what tools are involved in this plan track assess framework and how to improve them. And trainers of open science to help pass on this knowledge to others. We are building on we are building on 24 pilots. So we bring this target audience that we saw before, the stakeholders, are brought in also through our pilots, 15 national pilots. You can see here the different countries represented, 8 thematic pilots representing all 5 science clusters, and 1 pan-European. This is the Horizon Europe pilot, where we are scaling up a bit the implementation of the plant track access framework to the Horizon Europe data management planning. Of course, as you can understand, this is not one size fit all. So as I said at the beginning, we work on finding the common denominators that can support our ambition. The reality, what we had before OSTrails, this is it. It's very siloed, let's say. Some of the plant track access stages are not connected. And this is what we have today after 1 year of working on the foundations of the plant track access framework and the pathways, understanding the pathways of the different communities of how information goes from repositories to SKGs to fair assessment tools and to DMP platforms. Here you can see some of the actions that are triggered by users, but also by machines, so by the tools. In summary, what we have today, and we welcome your feedback on those, is the plant track access framework, which are the pathways between DMPs, SKGs, and fair assessment tools. We have an architecture and interoperability frameworks that show the standards and protocols for connecting the services. We have commons specifications, which is our research hub to share models, specifications, and tools. For example, this is where we are also, the commons is the place where controlled vocabularies can be created and shared across the community. Fair reference model, which is a framework to guide fair adoption at every research stage. And of course, for some of these, you will be able to hear more on the next webinars that we are going to have later this month. But fair reference model is something that was not there before, and we work with fair assessors, fair assessment tools to understand how this model, what are its key components, and how this model can expose information, so the results of the testing. DMP evaluation specifications. This is about providing a semi-automated way of evaluating the DMPs in terms of their completeness, their quality, validity, and fairness, also the information that they contain if they're fair. And lastly, we also have specifications for the scientific knowledge graphs quality of the metadata, which is a set of annotation tools to improve the quality, as I said. So this is an overview of this is the toolkit that we have. This is here, I don't know if you can see. Here is the pathways. Here is the architecture, where it shows how each pillar is connected, the APIs and the interoperability frameworks of the 3 pillars, how this fits into the how the commons, the interoperability framework, and the software services are connected, and what's the role that they play in this. And also you can find more on the documentation that we have on our website. Thank you. And I'm happy to answer any questions, or do we do that later? We cannot hear you, Tassos.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. I suggest that we're going to have, like, at the very end, all the questions and the discussion, so you can incorporate all the comments. So we can proceed with the presentation of Andrew Hoffman and Eileen from from Leiden University at SURF on the Dutch pilot. Hi.
Yes.
Thanks, Tazos. Can you hear me and see the screen?
Yes, everything's
Great. So I'll be presenting together with Eileen Wachemakers. I'm Andrew Hoffman, as you heard. I am, for this particular project, affiliated with the Center for Science and Technology Studies at Leiden University, although I am also affiliated with the Cultural Anthropology and Development Sociology Institute over there. Eileen, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Eileen Wagemakers. I work at SURF in the Open Research Information Program. And SURF is a cooperation of all research institutions and higher education institutions in the Netherlands.
So, yeah, we're going to take the next 4 or so minutes to tell you a bit about what we've been doing so far and what our next steps are in the context of the Netherlands National MADMP pilot. There's a lot that's going on, so obviously with the time that we have, we can't say very much, and we'll try and make it as clear and coherent as possible. But I also have a really bad head cold today, so pardon me if nothing makes sense, and you can ask questions during the Q&A. So as you see on the left here, there's sort of a spectrum that moves from institutional workflows to open science workflows. And to explain a little bit about how we're thinking about this graph here, or this image, we, being in the Netherlands, have realized during the sort of pre-pilot phase that we've been working on for the past year plus that the Dutch landscape is actually super diverse in terms of RPOs, what their needs are, the technologies they use, and even where they stand in terms of what their priorities are in terms of open science stuff, as well as administrative stuff. So we've spent a lot of time thinking about what it would or could look like to sort of organizationally embed MADMP tooling, such as Argos, in organizations that in a way that both sort of accomplish the organizational and administrative needs, which is, due diligence and documentation for, reputation management, just good scientific practice and these kinds of things, while also, again, sort of leveraging the more open science-y affordances of these sort of newer MADMP tools to accomplish the open science bit. So yeah, that's sort of where we are. And Eileen being at SURF, looking more at the infrastructure stuff, and me being sort of more on the ground, working with researchers every day, as well as with the administration at my own university, plus our conversations with other data management folks at other universities as well, has really sort of led to this kind of vision for the project, which, as you maybe mostly know, doesn't formally kick off until this summer. So this is, yeah, the prep work that we've been doing. And then I'll pass it off to Eileen to say a bit as well.
Yes, so as Andrew explained, we're looking at this tension, or there is a bit of tension between how can we use MADMP tooling to alleviate the administrative burden of the institutions, but also at the same time look at open science and open research information and how we can make sure or ensure that the information that we deem relevant to share with everyone else to be made available through this MADMP tooling. And so one of the steps, Andrew talked a little bit about the privacy and ethics and that administration side of things, but also we're also looking into how can we, or what are the pathways to publishing those DMPs within the institutional context, so they can at least be made visible even within the boundaries of the institutions, but then going a little bit further. So one of the things that SURF is involved with in the context of Faircore for EOSC is the development of RAID, which is a persistent identifier service for research activity. So it stands for Research Activity Identifier. And basically it is an envelope of other PIDs so it assigns a PID to a project, but then also gives you PIDs for big contributors in form of a ORCID, the organizations involved, but also all the research objects. So DMPs could be one of that, but data sets, publications, anything that is output of that research or projects could be added in that envelope of a rate. And so we're really looking into how we can get information for this rate identifier from MADMP tooling, and then also make it discoverable and reusable through SKGs, such as the Netherlands Research Portal, which is basically a portal on top of the OpenAIRE research graph. Yep.
Sorry, I was going to loop back for 1 second because I talked sort of in general about administration, and so if I can just specify, Eileen, as you see in that sort of top blue box, we have DMPs, privacy, and ethics. So those are often sort of different workflows. But as we are sort of learning, as we work with tools like Argos, it's possible to accomplish sort of an ethic. You can put an ethics module, you can put a privacy module, as well as having the sort of core DMP modules in these kinds of tools. So when I talk about administrative efficiency, as Eileen pointed to, it's really what we kind of call integrated workflows. And actually, myself and Eileen and Ellie are giving a workshop at the upcoming Surf Research Day here in the Netherlands to sort of bring these ideas to the wider community, to also sort of understand how others' needs can also be met in this kind of way as well. So I'll leave it back to you, Eileen.
Yeah, well, I think that's where we are. We haven't officially kicked off yet. We're just exploring how we can best bring these two visions, workflows together into MADMPs. And I think our key takeaway, which is stated there, is that we need to look at the institutional level, but also at the national level, so to make sure that we can leverage the existing tooling out there as much as possible, while also addressing the needs of the institutions and addressing the needs of the open research information, whatever community that is. So that's where we are. And I think we are over our 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Andrew and Eileen. I think if you, Andrew, could share also, the link about the workshop that you are planning, to have, I think it will be, important for some people that would like to join. And we can continue with Renaud Dime from the European Synchrotron Radiation Facility, that he's going to present how they're using DMBs, SKGs, and FAIR within their settings. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Tassos. So I'm working for the European Synchrotron Radiation Facilities. So it's a facility in Grenoble in France. So what we do is experiments for the photon and neutrons community. So I'm going to give an example of how we use DMP with the dataset we create. So here you have a workflow of what's going on in our facilities. So you have an experiment. ESRF is just a big microscope. So you do experiment and you generate a data set, binary data. And then this data can be used in publications. So here is an example of instruments we use. So on the synchrotron, you have beamlines, and then at the end of the beamline, you can put a sample and then create some images of this sample. So it could be paleontology elements or even violin, or here you have human artifacts. So you generate data with our big microscope. So here is an example of a data set we have. So it's a dinosaurs, and so what we have is a 3D reconstruction of these elements. So basically, we use a technique which is called tomography. So it's like you cut slices, you take images, and then you reconstruct 3D images of your artifact. So then you have a data set with with big zip files, and you have a DOI, and in our data catalog you see an entry of this data set. And at the end of the research, what you have is the publication that is actually reusing this data set. So here it's a publication in Nature, where you have which is actually using the data that was created in the synchrotron. So it's a primary publication. So how can we integrate these elements in a DMP? So first, the idea is to we use fair sharing, which allows us to define an identifier for the technique, the microscope technique we use. So this tomography technique is defined in an ontology, so it's a vocabulary of our techniques. So our vocabulary is called the photon and neutron experimental technique. So we have an ID for it defined in fair sharing. It's called the PANET. And on the other side, we also defined an ID for our actual data portal. So you may know the RIS3 data identifier, but we also have a fair sharing ID for our data catalog. So these are the two assets we're going to use in our DMP. So if you take the day one of the research, so the user actually creates a DMP, and you have this kind of question in a DMP. Which data and metadata, vocabulary, and standards or methodology will you follow to make your data interoperable? So this is the kind of question you have in EU templates DMP question. So we use the DSW DMP tool. So there is an autocomplete form, and the idea is to take information from fair sharing and then include it in the DMP. So here we're going to say, we're going to use the PANET ontology defining our standards for our research. And for the repository, we promise we're going to use the ESRF data portal to store our data. So this is information that is stored in the DMP. So no data set is yet created. So let's say 2 months later, you made good progress and you have these data sets in the data portal. So for the question, which data set were created during the project, we're going to link the ID of the data set to the DMP. So the idea is really to use the unique IDs of the data set and link it to the DMP. So it's matching, so this can be used for evaluation later. And let's say 3 months after, you actually make your you create your publication in Nature. So this publication is actually crawled and end up in OpenAir, which is a central place where you have all the publication you create in scholarly journals end up in OpenAir. So the same way we link the data sets in the DMP, we can link a publication in the DMP. So with the DOI, and so OpenAir has the title, the authors, the ORCIDs, the abstract. So all this information, the idea is that you, as a user, you don't want to enter them manually. We want to automate that and make your work easier. And then the final step is actually the evaluation of the DMP. So the DMP tool allows you to export in a standard way all the information you have in your DMP. And then you're going to run an evaluation that may actually need for information from fair sharing, from our data portal, and from OpenAir. So the example of test you can do on the stuff you can evaluate on your DMP is to say, for example, do you have a license on your data set? Is there a terminology of your community that is present linked to your data set? So typically the tomography techniques that is linked to the data set. And another test could be, for example, is the repository you use has does it have a certification, a core trust seal, or another one that is community-based? So this kind of evaluation, we want them to be automated. So at the end, you could have a score and an advice, so you can enhance your DMP and add more information. And final step would be, for example, imagine you have another research team that want to reuse the data. So you have this kind of question in DMP. Will you reuse any existing data and how? So for example, you could link an existing data set for new research and, for example, do this kind of response friction. So here you have you only have the bones 3D, so you could have a research team that actually recreates an image. So it could be a completely new project. So we want to track that also in the DMPs. So that's it. That's us.
Thank you very much, Renaud. And we can go ahead with the presentation of the mentorship program from Pedro Princip from the University of Minho.
Okay, thank you very much and good morning. So we are entering in the, like Eli Papadopoulou said, we are entering in that interesting phase that we can start sharing some of the results and put it available for the community. For sure, now we are already some things, but in the second semester of this year will be more and more relevant. So one of the first opportunities for people to engage with the results of OSTrails is the mentorship program that it's open. Applications until the 25th of April, so in 10 days. So be sure that you are using this webinar to apply and to join us in this interesting mentorship program that I will try to highlight to you why to join and how this will work in detail. But be aware that the mentorship program is one of the activities of our training actions. So we have a roadmap that also include boot camps and online courses and different components. But what is interesting is that for this we are now starting the mentorship program. We also will have in the last quarter of this year a boot camp, and then we are starting to deliver also later online courses. And the main outputs support and learning outputs from the project will be also all gathered in a training library that in fact you can already access in the training corner that we have available in the project website. But the idea is that some of these components, some of these actions are really targeted to boost the knowledge around what the project is offering to boost the implementation. But there are other components like the mentorship program, like some of the online courses, that the idea is to leverage the knowledge around these main topics of the main pillars of the project, that because we understand that for some of these topics, things will be a bit new in some communities, in some institutions. So we have also this objective to leverage the knowledge and to boost the possibilities of implementation around the frameworks that we are delivering, the tools, the specifications that we are presenting in the OSTrails Commons. So mentorship program, trying to convince you to join and to apply. The main topics are the three pillars that we already talked about, and leverage the knowledge around these main pillars and also about what we are offering. And it's a personalized guidance and support that we are offering in this program. Individual or group actions, so sharing experiences, sharing network possibilities, things like that is what we are offering in this program. why to join. We highlight expert guidance, skill development, networking, and personalized support. And I think you understand the benefits of this kind of activities. But as we have a very good set, a very good group of experts on the different topics that we are covering, part of the partners of OSTrails, we realize that this is really a great opportunity to share knowledge. So skill development and expert guidance based on these senior experts that we have in our technical team, but also in our pilots. This is really great and really a good opportunity. From these opportunities, networking development is really key. Because you will meet new people, and also our senior experts will also highlight to you other possibilities of networking projects, people that are also important for you to contact. And this is based on a personalized support. We have different types of people there are some people that prefer face-to-face support and training actions. There are others, those that want to stay behind the screen to watch webinars, etc. And there are also those people that prefer this kind of personalized support as we are offering in this mentorship program. The learning objectives, of course, are related with this, the way that we are designing this, the different components of our training roadmap, but covering based on this personalized support. So improve specific technical and soft skills that you need to highlight when you apply, okay, for us to be aware of what we want to cover in your mentorship program. Learn about best practices that are key in the developments that we have in this area, and also try to implement what we are offering from the commons that we are presenting to you, the tools, the frameworks, etc., the specifications that we are offering. And of course, at the end, I think it will be hopefully a way for you also to expand your personal network. Okay, close to the end, and to finish and to highlight to you this program, this interesting program, who can join and how to apply. If you identify yourself with one of these target audiences of our mentorship program, so IT infrastructure managers, those that can implement in different areas in the institutions, in research infrastructures, in the national initiatives that you can implement what we are offering in OSTrails. Research support staff, the diversity of roles and flavors in the institutions around the research support staff. So we are talking about data stewards, data curators, librarians, research managers, those that are supporting internally in institutions and in infrastructures, work around data management, data curation, research portals, etc. And also we want to have in our mentorship program officers from the funders that have policies, that have recommendations, and also services that we think they are important also to be as a target audience from our project and this program specifically, that have of course a set of places available specifically for the pilots that are participating in the project, but we are also open to everyone. So please apply. There is already a form that my colleagues are sharing in the chat. So how it works? We will have a kickoff in June, around maybe more close to the end of June or mid-June, but we will have the kickoff in June, and then hopefully the meetings between the mentors and the mentees will start just after the summer, finish in May, June next year. The idea is that we cover during 1 year this program. So what we ask is for the participation in one kickoff meeting, and then to have regular meetings from 1 hour, 1.5 hours. But we suggest that the meetings are monthly, but they can be every 2 months, but a bit more with long duration. A format. So we are internally in the discussions that we have in OSTrails. The idea was only to have one-to-one format, but we realized that will be a benefit to have different formats. One-to-one, one to a team, for example, from an institution, from a research infrastructure, or even if the needs cover different experts, we also consider to have 2, 3, 4 persons from OSTrails to support a team in an institution or in a national initiative or an infrastructure, European infrastructure. So we have different flavors here in different ways to offer this mentorship program, which I think is a benefit to consider this. Usually we only see mentorship program in a one-to-one base, but I think this innovation that we did, I think it's really a benefit for individuals and for teams in different institutions. So count with the application. So in May we will select and notify participants, and then participants will be invited for the kickoff of this mentorship program in June, and you can benefit, and we will indicate to you where who will be your mentor or mentors if this is the case, and to group you also in the team. So apply for our mentorship program. If you have any doubt, you can contact via the normal channel of OSTrails, info@ostrails.openair.eu, but you can have also contact directly with those that are coordinating this mentorship program, myself, Pedro, and my colleague André. So Pedro Príncipe, André Vieira, and Anabela Duarte, it's the team that is coordinating this mentorship program. We can offer to you support, but everyone in the coordination can also clarify an issue. This slide is here just for you to pick up your mobile phone and apply using this QR code. And also, before I finish, as I highlighted the different training actions that we have in this roadmap, be aware that there is a training corner in the website where we are putting, since the beginning of the project, what you can expect and what we have already available around support and training. Okay, so please access ostrails.eu/training, and you will find in this corner already information available, and of course information about the mentorship program if you have any doubt. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pedro. I think we had a great overview of the project, vision, goals, the technical developments that we have so far, how these are going to implement it, within our pilots, and of course, how we're going to spread, this knowledge through the mentorship program, to help also the research community to advance open science practices. With this, I would like to open the floor to the audience, for questions, comments, remarks, or whatever you need to know more about the project. Please feel free, to ask directly to the speakers.
I guess we overwhelmed them.
I think it will be good also, Ellie, if you can share again like the slide with the comments, just to make clear, because as I
Yes.
also mentioned in my presentation several times, what people can expect from this project. I think it's maybe before we finish, maybe stop a bit that and highlight, because this is
You mean
there are
this?
technical developments.
Oh.
Yes. I think this is, if you want to highlight something.
But do you see it? Because I see.
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is what we have so far. The framework, the interoperability, well, the plan track assess framework. So the pathways, the architecture and the interoperability frameworks for SKGs, DMPs, and fair assessment tools, commons, the FAIR reference model, DMP evaluator specs, and SKG quality specs. There is a question.
I see there is a question. The first, are there any requirements to become a mentee? Do I need to have a specific set of skills or specific knowledge in order to apply?
No, there are no specific requirements. You need to, in the application form, you need to state in 2 questions that we ask you: the motivation and also the experience that you have, why you want to apply, what are your needs, what is your role in your institution or infrastructure, to understand the impact that this program may have in your professional role in your institution or infrastructure. But via these 2 questions, so you can you make clear your skills, needs. So there are no specific requirements.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Just a quick question regarding the interoperability frameworks and how different communities can adopt and implement these frameworks. And the question is for you, Ellie. And if of course someone from from the audience, I suppose from the technical team, is here, if they can just give like 2 to 3 minutes, just an explanation.
Maybe that's better. I see people.
Yeah, I think I see also.
I see people. So let's let them speak instead of me. I think that would be better.
Mark, I think Mark is here.
I am, but I don't know what I'm being asked to do. Sorry.
So if you can just, elaborate a little bit about, what is the interoperability frameworks, how the different communities will be able, to adopt, implement them.
I guess the starting point is that with respect to FAIR, which is the one that I speak for primarily, that the different FAIR assessment tools, and there are a lot of them, there are more than 25, I believe, they were behaving differently, and they had different domain specificities. So there were tools that were generic, not domain specific. There were domain specific tools that would test specifically ontologies, for example. They couldn't be compared to one another. They didn't have the same interfaces. They didn't use the same set of tests. They didn't discover metadata in the same ways. And so the FAIR assessment landscape was a bit of a mess. And between the task force from EOS and the activities in the OSTrails project, we're making a lot of progress towards harmonizing how the different tools can be described so that we can compare them to one another, and also how you can interact with all of them using a common framework, so that we can now talk to multiple tools and get results from those tools in a format that allows you to simply merge the results and then interpret them. So that's the overview of the FAIR IF.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. I see there is another question about the mentorship program. Is the mentorship
Maybe
program? Yes, Ellie?
if I can state here that Mark Wilkinson from UPM is the work package leader for the FAIR assessment. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I have already replied. So this is the main target for the mentorship program. Is I forgot to make it clear, is of course institutions, professionals from institutions, from research infrastructures, from the European research area. We mentioned primarily, so it's not an obstacle others to apply, but of course, as it is primarily in our criteria to select people, this will be consider. So this is important. And I think it's good also to highlight that even for these technical questions, as we are going to have other webinars, just to highlight people that there will be opportunities for people to learn in detail about some of these components that Ellie is highlighting here in this slide. But I just wanted to make it clear, because these are things that we are going to cover in the mentorship program, but also in the boot camp in the second semester.
Okay, I see there is a question in the chat from Mike Friday. Is there mentorship program limited to European research-based institution or infrastructure, or is it a global program?
There's already an answer.
Pedro?
So
Okay. I see. Yes, this is also
Yes,
Andrew's
this is
question.
what I already explained. Yes.
Yes. So Andrew Hoffman, I see that you have a question.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Renaud about their pilot. And I'm sorry if you said this, but again, my head is a bit stuffed up today. But how did you folks land on Data Stewardship Wizard for your pilot?
Sorry, can you repeat the last the last sentence?
Yeah.
Renaud?
So you're using Data Stewardship Wizard in your pilot, correct?
Yeah.
And I'm just curious sort of how you landed on the decision to use Data Stewardship Wizard versus other MADMP tools.
What we want at ESRF is to automate part of the actual creation of the DMP. So, for example, when we create the initial project in the DMP, we want to have APIs to automatically add the dataset to the DMP when the experiment was done. So we did a comparison of the existing tool, and we found that in DSW we had good APIs we could use to feed the actual DMP with internal information. What can happen is when you deploy a DMP tool in an institution, in a university, or I mean anywhere, you may have some local information that you want to stick in your DMP kind of automatically. So it could be a way for you to decide which tool can be integrated with your local tools. So it could be your internal databases, or so that was the reason. But since there were change in you have many tools available. Argos is one of them as well. So.
And does that also mean that there's sort of project administration tooling in the organization that also feeds in, or is it?
Yes, we have a set of external jobs that are scheduled to feed the DMPs automatically, but it's probably it's probably an uncommon use case. I suppose in a university you have scientists starting from scratch on blank DMPs just with a template, and they just add information during the life cycle of the project itself. So when they create, exactly as I explained in my slides, so when they create the dataset, they add it. When they publish, they can add the publication. So depends how you want to automate. If it makes sense for you to automate the DMP creation.
So I think we are close to the end, and yes, we should conclude somewhere here. Let me share my
But maybe
screen.
Tassos,
Yes,
if we can share if we can share the other pilots, maybe I stop sharing and I copy in the chat, because we now heard about the two, but we have more, and we have also interviews with pilot coordinators that you can check latest updates. So here, if you go to our news corner, because there are different use cases that we are exploring. And also, let me go here so that you also, where am I? So that you also check the more than 80 tools that this consortium brings. Thank you.
Okay, and finally, I would like to share also, because there were many requests about the upcoming webinars. Can you see my screen?
No, but I'm sharing. I'm sharing. Just proceed.
Okay, thank you, Pedro. So yes, we are planning the next webinar to be held, by the end of this month. The first one will be the three of them will be on the OSTrails interoperability frameworks, will be consecutive, in 3 consecutive days. The first will be on the FAIR interoperability framework, titled "Am I FAIR? How can I know?" Where Mark Wilson is going to explain in more detail what he explained already, within this webinar. Second, we're going to have the webinar on DMP-IF from Marek Suzanek. And finally, the interoperability hits first with the SKGIF, which is also the webinar dedicated to the scientific knowledge graph interoperability framework that we are developing within the project, held by Andrea Manotti from CNR. Could you go to the next slide? Okay, with this, I would like to thank, first of all, the speakers for being here and, presenting the projects and giving, I think, a very good, overview of what we are doing. And of course, all the partners that have made possible to, to turn, into the vision into more concrete actions, and what we have achieved so far. And finally, I would like also to thank the audience, of all of you for being here and, join us in our first webinar. Afterward, we are going to share, as I mentioned before, the recordings. And so there you can find, also the links where you can follow our project, to be aware about the next webinars, news, and so on. Thank you all very much.